Welcome back to another episode of my Formula 1 2019 mid-season driver reviews. Bit of a mouthful, that, but we're almost over. Only 6 drivers remaining, and today we are talking about our second driver of the day. A little bit earlier on we spoke about Valtteri Bottas, so if you haven't seen that, make sure you go and check that one out once you've finished today's episode. And if you're new around here, we're doing these right up to the Belgian Grand Prix, the end of the summer break, just a week to go now, thank goodness. But we're talking today about the man, the only man, to step on the podium in 2019 that doesn't belong to the top 3 teams. Daniil Kvyat. What a surprise I think many of us have had so far this year from this man. A guy who joined Red Bull back in 2015 after Sebastian Vettel left the team. He then, throughout the season, beat Daniel Ricciardo on total points. 2016, a couple of dodgy races, but also a podium finish in that season in China, gets dropped. Max Verstappen comes into Red Bull. Then a difficult season and a half sees him dropped completely from Toro Rosso for the 2018 season. So last year, this man wasn't even in Formula 1. Toro Rosso this year, with a giant chain effect with Daniel Ricciardo leaving Red Bull, Toro Rosso has, let's just say, very limited options. Had to bring back Alex Albon. They previously kicked him out of their Red Bull Junior team, but also they had to bite the bullet with Daniil Kvyat, bringing him back into the team. Many felt in the pre-season, I want to say I was one of them. I don't think I was quite as extreme as most people. Many people felt that this guy would come back to Formula 1, do pretty poorly, and get kicked out. And whilst I thought he'd come back to Formula 1 and struggle, I think he's proved everyone wrong with his performances so far this year. Don't get me wrong, he's not been my driver of the year. I wouldn't even say he's been in my top 5 drivers of my year, to be honest with you. But he's been consistent. He's been really consistent so far this year in a midfield where many drivers have struggled to be consistent. Some very talented drivers and some drivers who have a whole host of experience that you expect to be in the points regularly. Nico Hülkenberg, Sergio Perez. I've been critical of both those drivers, but I feel they're good examples. I think Kvyat has done a much stronger job than those 2 drivers, and I think he's really established himself that he deserves a seat in Formula 1. So, for starters, I'm chuffed with that. The only big glaring thing at the moment going into Belgium is that Red Bull have dropped Pierre Gasly, so Gasly comes to Toro Rosso, but he's going to be teammates with Kvyat. And it was Albon who's been preferred to be promoted to Red Bull. Now, many people see this as just Red Bull testing the waters, and perhaps Kvyat can get the jump next year to Red Bull and Albon will come back to Toro Rosso. But I still think that's a bit of a stinger for Kvyat, who I personally feel has had a better season so far than Alex Albon. Points finishes, Kvyat has had 6, Albon has had 5. Kvyat has had 1 podium so far this year, which again, Toro Rosso, you do not expect that. Only their 2nd podium in Formula 1 history. A couple of races ago now in Germany. One of the best races for a very long time, I must say. One of the crazier races, but he was one of those drivers. On the day, didn't make mistakes, got the job done. Strategy was beautiful, which I know you don't generally take most strategy calls from within the cockpit, but he kept it within the white lines, didn't make mistakes, and on that day, big drives like that made a big lot of difference. And in the championship, Kvyat now sits in 9th with 27 points overall. Albon is in 15th with 16 points, and both of them had brilliant races in Germany. But for me, Kvyat so far over the season has been the better of the 2. A P7 finish in Monaco should not be shunned upon, but Albon also got a really strong result in Monaco as well. The Germany podium we just mentioned. Kvyat also had a brilliant race in Spain, and whilst it didn't get him the most points in Spain, made some awesome overtakes, going around the outside of Kimi Raikkonen, former world champion, through turn 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, just going through that in my head. Incredible race. But you also look at Silverstone, and at the time, I didn't particularly notice Daniil Kvyat's performance in Silverstone, but several times this year, I've had comments say, Anasek Dan, I respect your opinion and what you think of the race, but go back and have a look at Kvyat. Have a look where he started. Have a look how many overtakes he's done. Silverstone, a perfect example where flew completely under the radar, out in Q1, 17th on the grid, ends up P9. And several times so far this year, Kvyat hasn't done the best job on Saturday, but it's been on Sunday where, again, brilliant strategy from Toro Rosso, but brilliant driving from Daniil Kvyat has really put him in several positions to challenge for points. And in a season where teams like Renault, teams like Haas seem to be struggling, it's this kind of season where teams like Toro Rosso, with a consistent driver, which again, Haas definitely have not been able to provide so far this year, it's where Toro Rosso have really been able to benefit. And I'd love to know your thoughts on what you think Kvyat should get out of 10, but I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. I think that's maybe a little bit high, but I really have been impressed with this man's Formula 1 comeback in 2019. Of course, I would love to know your thoughts in the comments below. 2 more of these coming out tomorrow. A former world champion is what I'm just going to throw into the mix there. One of those tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.